Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City of Liberty Lake Parks and Arts Commission. Today is Monday, December 4th, 2023, and it's 4 p.m. We'll go first to our roll call. Commissioners present, Nancy Hill, myself present, David Heimbach,
Present.
Laura Frank,
Present.
Tom Chamberlain,
Present.
John Barr. I don't see John yet. Hopefully he'll be joining us. Noel Osterson Laparco, I think I saw you online.
Yep, I'm here, present.
Great. No. And Bob Schneidmiller, do we have Bob online? Not yet. We're expecting him online. We have our new adjunct commissioner, Katie Ferris.
Present.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And student commissioner, Allison Pegram. And you're
Hello.
online, Allison?
Yes, I am present.
Great. Good to see you.
You too.
Katie, we're going to put you on the spot a little bit. You're our new position, and we want to welcome you. And maybe you can share a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I've lived in Liberty Lake for about 20 years, and I'm recently retired teacher from Central Valley School District. And my background is in health and recreation and fitness. So I'm really excited about bicycle safety and bike safety in the community. And so I think that's kind of how I fit in the niche in this commission. I promote a lot of bike to school days still and involved in bike safety assemblies with the fire department in the schools. So since I retired, so I'm still actively involved in community bicycle things. And anyway, I'm really excited to be here, see what we can do together.
Well, great. Welcome. We're so happy to have you on board.
Thank you.
Can't wait to hear your new perspective to our meetings. And also present is staff Tate Hunter and Jen Camp. I think I forgot to say that last time. So you guys are here and we're grateful to you. And Michael on our techno. All right. First of all, we'll look at the approval of the November 2023 meeting minutes. I think it's in your packet. Does anyone have any additions or corrections to the minutes?
I move to approve as written. I'll second that.
It's been moved and approved. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Oh, okay. Let's show it passing unanimously, please. Citizen comments. Do we have any citizens online? No. And Tom, I believe you had a comment?
I do. So as most of you know, I'm president of Winter Glow Spectacular out at Orchard Park. And first, I'd like to thank the city, Best Western and Quality Inn for their generous donations over the years. They've helped us get bigger and better every year. We're kind of short on volunteers, and we got to find some way of doing that. This year, I wanted to light up some roundabouts. Our board members told me no, but I overrode them. So I got some volunteers from George G. Windermere Realty and Liberty Lake Rotary Club. And that's how we got to do that. So each roundabout's probably over $1,000 worth of lights. We've had good comments on that and good comments at Orchard Park. And then there's also the city set up a website of some sort about likes. And I guess on Friday, there was like 11,000 likes. By Sunday, it was 25,000. So we're in there. Mark Peterson's been praising us on TV. And then we've also gotten some ink in the spokesman review. So now it comes down to, I would like to light more up in Liberty Lake. My board members will vote against me again on this, but I'd like to light up the islands also, maybe for next year, and maybe add a few different things. So with that, I need you to start thinking about possibly more money if you like this setup. I think it's like 15,000 this year, but you know, like I say, lights cost money and we want to continue to get newer displays. And I think we go through like $5,000 worth of lights or more each year. And there's a whole bunch of stuff we go through, but yeah. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I want to say, and just kind of putting it out there to think about the future, as far as quality and Best Western and the city. Thank you.
Well, thank you. That's a big project. And it's the lights on the roundabout near my house. I really enjoyed them. I was pleasantly surprised when I drove by and saw them on for the first time. So thank you, Tom, for the extra effort.
Yes, question, Tom, are you talking the islands in front of Orchard Park?
There is the roundabout by Selkirk Junior High,
Right, that's all.
and then there's this roundabout by Moultrie Mission.
Okay.
So George G did Moultrie Mission.
The recent lights that are on the
Yeah,
trees there.
we supplied the lights for
I was
him.
wondering who put those up.
Yeah,
I
we-
just noticed them
Well, I
last night.
supplied the lights and equipment.
Yeah.
And then Windermere and Rotary, which I'm part of, we took care of the Selkirk roundabout.
Which looks amazing.
Yeah, and I think it turned out real good.
Awesome. Any other citizen comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to our unfinished and new business. We have several appointments coming up. Myself, I'm up for renewal, but apparently I'm now on the 19th of December because my paperwork didn't come back from the background check. I was getting worried. And John, his will be up tomorrow in front of council, and then Joni, hey, our second adjunct position will also be up for approval tomorrow, and I believe Joni is with us in the audience today, so welcome.
And hopefully, Tom Chamberlain will be on the December 19th as well. We're getting his paperwork taken care of.
Right. I filled it up today.
All right. So it looks like we're on track to renew 3 current commissioners and then finish up our adjunct position. So that's great. Looking at the next agenda, the Parks and Arts City Council report is on December 19th. That's, when one of us goes and updates council on what we've been doing. Do we have any volunteers that want to talk to City Council on the 19th?
The 19th,
Mm-hmm.
let me check here.
Would be a
I
Tuesday.
might be available. Yes, I can do that.
You can do the 19th? All right.
And so we'd be starting at like between 7 and 7:30, Jen, usually.
Correct,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you.
All right, moving to the next agenda item. The January chair and co-chair nominations and elections. Wanted to bring that up so people would be thinking about it. Apparently, I took the second half of Lanya's 2-year chair position when she left the commission, so that would be up, and the co-chair would also be up because it's even years that we elect the chair and co-chair. So if anyone has an interest in those positions or anything, you can be thinking about it. We'll do the nominations in January just to bring it onto your radar. If anyone has an interest. Okay, moving on to the Trailhead Beam and Bench project. David and John and I met at the Trailhead, the new Trailhead building right before Thanksgiving, and I took a few pictures. So for this discussion, if you can look at the first picture, and it's the one that shows the electronic sign on the wall. And I was really hoping that, for those of you who don't know, there is a beam.
That's the other one.
Oh, that's
I'm
okay.
working on it.
That's not the pro shop there.
There's a beam that was removed from the old Trailhead building prior to the destruction of that building. And the mayor had it set aside, and it's roughly 11 feet long. It's a laminated beam that was indoors, and we are looking at possibly creative ways that we might repurpose this beam into some kind of functional artistic piece. And I thought, oh, that'd be cool if we returned it to the building. We'll David, John, and I met over at the building and we did some measuring. I love this location just inside the event door and right by the door into the restaurant, but that sign is only about, I think I put the dimension somewhere 44 inches, I think it was, above ground level, and it sticks out 5.5 inches. So if you sit down, you're gonna hit the sign. So I don't think we'll be able to do that there because it looked like moving the sign was a major project. It's a lot of infrastructure and there's electrical connection and everything. So we may be back to square one because we did not see another location in the building where we could put a bench.
Is it, just like a TV monitor?
It's like electronic sign. You can change what it says.
They're
Message
not,
board.
I know, I'm just trying to think of like TV mounts where there's so many different adjustments and
No, it's
orientations you
on
can
a-
do with it.
a big like bracket and it's stationary. And so that bracket looks like it's made into the wall, like it was designed like that for specifically that reason.
And when I looked at it, the bracket connection is low on the sign.
Okay.
So if that was all moved, then there's gonna be a lot of
Patchwork would need
rearranging.
to be done.
I mean, I really like it's a perfect place for it, but
No, I agree.
the sign is just, I don't know. I don't know if one of your guys could look at it and see if they thought the sign could be moved up 10 or it just looks really complicated. Not to say it can't be done. But there's really no other space. No other hallway is large enough to accommodate it. And I noticed just inside the event room, there was a spot, but John pointed out that if you're having an event, that's probably where the check-in tables would be and it would be in the way there. So that was a good observation. So I'm unless the sign can be raised up, then we're kind of at square one again with that. Any thoughts or about our beloved beam?
Just that when we were there, I agreed with David that to me, it really didn't seem to fit in with the atmosphere. There's more comfy chairs would appear to, I think it would need a lot of work to make it fit because all that remodeling has a fresh look and it's so new and the beam, I think, would need a lot of work and expense to bring it up to that standard, I would think.
Yeah. Well, something to think about, and we can certainly have it for a discussion item. Just wish it wasn't a laminated beam so that it could go possibly outside somewhere. But I believe it would probably be a maintenance nightmare unless there was some really industrial thing we could do to it.
Like a covering.
Yeah, and then it wouldn't really look like the beam anymore. Yeah.
Oh, man, just a little awning,
Oh, I see what you're saying. Of course.
but it'd have to blend in with
Uh-huh.
the present
Yeah.
look.
Oh, well, maybe, and if you think about it that way, maybe you can put it over the gazebo in the town square.
Maybe it could be put on end and be a sculpture. Well, something to think about. It's not going anywhere anytime soon, I don't think. All right, moving on to agenda item number 6, action items. The trailhead art walls, and we took a couple pictures of those. There's the wall going into the pro shop, which is the larger of the two walls. It's around 126 inches wide and has the light. The wall going into the event center has the same light. It's only about 96 inches. And John and David had some really good ideas. David, do you want to start by telling your idea for going into the pro shop?
For the photo rotation,
No,
which idea was that then?
so historical.
Oh, yes, sorry, we just discussed it a moment ago. So, if you have been into Barlow's, you've seen a lot of the historical pictures in the restaurant, there before the restrooms. And I thought what would be nice is to approach Ross Schneidmiller about getting, 4 or 5, look, assuming we used that size, 4, maybe 5 at the most, historical pictures that we could put up, similar to what you're seeing on the wall behind us here. I think that would look really nice there. That gets a lot of traffic, and it also would pull in, a lot of the historical reference, to Liberty Lake. And I just think that would make a great spot for those. So that was an idea that we had in addition to a few others.
Mhm. And John, do you want to talk about the potential idea and the process that you had for the entrance of the wall going into the event center?
I was just suggesting that the photo group that meets at the water building, I think it's the PSA, the Photographic Society of America or something like that. I did reach out to them, but I didn't get a response. But I thought they would be the experts in curating something like that, because photographers love to display their own work, and just make the requirement that to be able to display their photographs, that they have to adhere to certain specific standards as to the metal framing, like you suggested, and the white matting, and you could pick possibly different themes for certain times of the how often you'd rotate it, with the golf course being right there, you could have a sports theme, or fall theme, winter theme, animals, wildlife, and that's what, when it comes to that photography club, that's how they when they show the photographs, they select them by topic and theme, and everybody has to just submit to those kind of photos to meet that topic. So I think they would be perfect for curating something like that. And I'm sure that's something that they would love to do, but I'll keep reaching out to them to see if they
Yeah, when I had originally looked at the building, it's very modern and light and bright and open if you haven't been. And it just seemed to beg photography as art for something different, and having, like John was talking about, if someone else would manage the project for us, rotating display of photographs from citizens in Liberty Lake that would showcase our beautiful area, and we'd have to decide parameters if we wanted to limit it to photographs taken in Liberty Lake, or just photographs taken by Liberty Lake residents, and that sort of thing. But if Ross Schneidmiller, David's been reaching out to him to talk about the historical pictures, and then if John can make contact with the photography club, if they would have an interest, that would be nice to have them involved in the project, because certainly the rotating display is going to require some management to work on.
So Nancy, last week I talked to the golf pro. And going into that clubhouse, they seemed to, of course, it'd be nice to have golf.
Golf, of course.
Yeah, but with the photography people, they could get some old golf pictures, and they know how to blow them up or clarify
yeah.
them, or do things, kind of like that stuff over there. And I know I visited the Heritage Museum years ago, and they've got a whole bunch of pictures of Liberty Lake too.
Yeah, a sports historical theme. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because that's kind of why they're there, where the other one could be that art. Could be older pictures, could be whatever, rotating or whatever.
Right.
But that was his opinion. I just threw that out there.
I mean, we're early on in the discussion, so whatever ideas anyone else might have about what they might want to see in these spaces, feel free to chime in, because they're really nice open walls, and be nice to have something there that's people will enjoy when will enhance their visit to the building.
And what about that wall that goes from the golf entrance up to the event area that's kind of, it doesn't have any lighting, but it's,
The long hallway.
yeah, that would be a great, kind of like an airport where you see, photos on
Mhm.
the side of a
Yeah,
ramp.
and there's a picture of that. There.
Yeah.
Yeah, the long hallway is, well, yeah, you can see it in that picture. It's long and it's not overly wide for people to stop and stand around and look at stuff. But I don't know what the overall vision of the building or who has control. All I know is that Parks and Arts has been offered the two walls with the lighting. So that's our primary focus for now. If we want to expand, then we'd have to check with the powers that be, whoever they might be.
Are you thinking photography only, or would this be rotating in terms of paintings and other mediums that?
The
Me-
sky's the limit, really. I mean, I was initially thinking photography only just because it seemed to fit in the style of the building more than a pastel watercolor or something might,
Mhm.
but not to say we couldn't do that too. It's,
I was just thinking of like the student arts that, you know, I've seen a lot of painted examples. I know they do photography classes as well. I just was curious if the vision was just photography or having it open and, you know, working not only with local photographers, but also kind of coordinating with, you know, our schools and their art classes as a way to kind of showcase the student art as well.
right, and we could certainly do that if we got on some kind of a rotation schedule and, you know, I want to be careful that I don't overcommit us as a commission for, you know, having a monthly changing display or something, which is why it was interesting when John suggested the photography club might have an interest, but we could do,
No, and that's fantastic having, like, you guys just discussed having a group that would curate it. I was just asking because I'd only heard photography mentioned, if that was kind of the direction or if it was open to, and how the photography club, or if there's other associations that they work with that would also be interested in helping curate if we did opt to look at other mediums as well.
Mhm. And you know, now that you mentioned that, potentially maybe the art program at Ridgeline High School, maybe they would be interested in managing something for at least part of the year if we had a rotating display.
Yeah, I mean, if you're thinking like quarterly rotation,
Mhm.
where you have the photography group manage 2 quarters and maybe the school manage 2 quarters, because they do a lot of their art displays at the end of semesters to,
Mhm.
you know, highlight the student art, but just another,
If
I'm
we remember
excited to
the-
see something, but yeah.
If we remember the art that was submitted for the signal boxes, it was amazing.
It was
I mean, it
fantastic.
was
No, that's
really,
what I was
really
thinking
good.
of. So that's why when, you know, when you were discussing photography, I was just curious if we had considered opening that up as well to other mediums, because there were some really, really spectacular submissions.
Yeah, and then when John was saying that in some of the rotating photography thing, that the photographer actually frames their own piece to certain specifications, but if we do further rotation, then I don't know, we might have to buy some kind of framing that could be interchanged if the pieces were a certain size, or I guess it would depend on the medium, how that would be managed, but I'm sure it could be figured out.
No, and I
because-
agree with you about being cognizant of overextending the group and how it gets managed.
Mhm. And then I don't know much about hanging pictures, but obviously we don't want to put new holes in the wall every quarter, so.
That's what I was gonna bring up, like if you have 5 pictures, now you're limited to that size of a picture
Right,
frame,
right,
so it'd go in the same spot.
yeah.
And the same holding, so it can't just be taken off
Mhm.
or securing it.
Right. So, I suppose our next step is waiting to see what Ross Schneidmiller would say about historical pictures, and then John, what you find out from the photography club and see what they would be bringing to the table then I suppose we should keep in mind the pro shop because it is the entrance to their building and see if what we could do.
Could even give, well, Mark Bitts is retired now, but get abstract art, little 3D type stuff, golf ball, clubs, whatever.
Laura, do you know the art person at Ridgeline or?
I don't, but I could get their
I
contact.
do. I know the art person at Ridgeline. I was gonna say, last time at the meeting, I also mentioned about having like student artwork display at the trailhead. And because sizing is of concern, I could like talk to the art teacher and we can have like specific paper sizes beforehand, before students start like doing pieces and stuff. And they can like submit it and you guys can choose what you guys like from that because of the sizing issues.
Allison, are you seeing this as just high school art or opening it up to all the Liberty Lake schools, or what were you thinking?
Well, I only have connections to Ridgeline High School. But I'm sure my art teacher knows the other art teachers from the other schools. So I can talk to her about that if you guys want to include other grade levels besides high school. If we were to pursue this student art rotational thing.
Well, I think we're in the exploratory phase now, so certainly if you want to reach out to your contact at Ridgeline and see what they think about the project and how it might be managed, that would give us information as we, move towards further discussion and decision-making. That'd be great.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you.
I think including the student art is a great idea. I also like David's idea of having historical photos, and depending on what the photography club can come up with. I wonder, as this building is very modern, and I think it kind of symbolizes Liberty Lake's transition into the future. I wonder if we might be able to find any photos of our more recent history, if there are any really nice photos of our past events, let's say from the last 10, 20 years. That might be neat.
That's an interesting thought to bring our history, maybe, because we've been a city this is our 21st year, something like that. So maybe history from incorporation.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, Barlow's and the room you're in right now, City Hall, we've got pictures of Liberty Lake's historical history. I mean, we put on a lot of really awesome events in our parks. If there are any great pictures of them, those might be fun to display.
No, I agree. I mean, anything that, shows the vibrant life in Liberty Lake and who we are is a win-win. That's a great idea. Well, I guess next step is Allison, you're going to check on the student art piece and have a discussion of interest and what that might look like. John, you're going to reach out, continuing to the photography club, and David, you'll check with Ross and maybe ask if he has golf pictures while you're talking to him.
Okay. And
then we can add this for a discussion item for our January meeting. And if anybody has any ideas in the between now and then we'll keep pounding this out because we want to get it right. It's a very nice area. And like you say, to the pro shop is a lot of traffic. And I'm imagining once the restaurant opens, that other area is going to be incredibly busy as well. So we'll go from there. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the recreation program fee schedule. And I believe there's some handouts in here, and Jen, do you want to kind of give us some background on this?
So I sent you all copies of this, but this is what we propose every year and the Parks and Arts Commission reviews. And makes the recommendation for council to approve this through the budget process. This is difficult to read. So I took out the important information on our park, shelter rentals. And I broke it down so it's much easier to read on this document. And I think for the sake of discussion today, we want to focus on particularly on the park shelters. We noted at the last meeting that Town Square does not have any fee structure established. And I think the desire of the commission was to look into that here in the next couple meetings, few meetings, however long it takes to come up with a plan. But if you look at the way that we've structured the other parks over the years, Pavilion Park is the biggest shelter along with the Orchard Depot. Their fee structures are the same. Rocky Hill Park shade structure is more comparable to the Orchard Park North and South shelters. They're structured the same. The structure at Town Square is probably closer in size to those smaller ones. We do not have rental fees for the entire park in any way, shape, or form. We don't ever usually get a request for that unless it's a community event, and then that's a whole different deal. So we'll just set that aside. In the past, there have been times when a church group will come in. I'm just using the example of a church group where there's over 200 people at Pavilion, Orchard, or Rocky Hill Park, and there's a fee for $250 for that. And they do get the shelter with that. Is that correct? That is only at Pavilion, Orchard, and Rocky Hill. Again, that is not at Town Square. So I think with the way that Town Square is starting to become very busy, it's probably time to start a fee structure for Town Square. The conversation that is going to have to happen is we don't necessarily get people wanting to just reserve the shelter like they do at the other parks. So that's why there has never been a desire to put a fee structure on the Town Square shelter. It doesn't get rented. When people use Town Square Park, the tendency is a farmer's market style event. And I think in every situation that we've reserved that park, 3 different times last year, they were all market style events where they utilized the entire park. There is some impact to staffing on those events as far as we have to stock more restroom facility items. We have to clean more often. I wouldn't say it's an extreme amount, but it does tax our staff and our supplies a little bit more heavily. So maybe, I guess the question is, do we want to have a reservation fee for the whole park? Do we not? Do you want to follow suit with the other parks and do the shelter rental? I wouldn't foresee making any money off of that in the next year because as I said before, not that it's impossible, but we don't get requests for just that shelter reservation where others are using the park like we do at the other big parks.
Sorry, if I can make just one quick interjection. This year, we did get a couple shelter rental requests for like celebrations of life, but because we don't have a fee structure, that rental process was almost non-existent. So it is a small interest in the shelter usage, but it is the first time we've had that this year, and it was only a few people.
So maybe a fee structure similar to Pavilion or to Rocky Hill, and then the smaller ones at Orchard would be in line.
Jen, wouldn't it be fair to say, because right now Town Square Park is only a partially developed, so it's a very small footprint right now. And like you said, when people come in, they're utilizing the whole park. So would it be appropriate to have a fee basically for the park that, or would, I mean, if you just rent the shelter, what if it was on the same night as, somebody doing a farmer's market style thing?
So they can't, so farmer's market, once they get their dates, they've filled out the paperwork, they have first priority usage at this point. So somebody else can't come in and rent the shelter.
So I know there's been some other markets, because I went to one in fall or something, it was on a Sunday. Or
Yeah, I
something.
think Dorkable had one in the spring. She wants to do a May Day event. Every spring, there was a new fall event, market event, this year. And then between the regular farmer's market on Saturdays and then this night market on Fridays. And then the question is nonprofit fees or for-profit fees. You know, if you start implementing fees for nonprofits, then that's going to have an effect of some sort on our existing farmers market and the night market. He's nonprofit. So he would fall under that scope. So this is the way it's broken down for the shelters, is profit or nonprofit structure. That's part of what will have to be part of this discussion.
So you'll right now reserve the park for, say, the night market, even if they're not reserving the shelter, and then you would take the shelter off the reservation thing, because you wouldn't want them both to be there at the same time, or?
No, we wouldn't reserve the shelter on top of to a separate party on top of the night market. Same with farmer's market. We wouldn't do that to them. That park is it's too plenty small.
I'm certainly not opposed to implementing the same fee schedule for Town Square as we do for Rocky Hill and Orchard Park. I think it's fair.
I'm sorry.
I said, I'm not opposed at all to implementing the same fee structure for the Town Square as we have for Rocky Hill Park and Pavilion Park.
I think from staff perspective, at a minimum, to follow the consistency of what we already have in place. The other parks is absolutely fair. Could it be structured differently because that is such a different park? I suppose we could propose the same structure for next year, see how it goes. You know, in this particular instance, I mean, how would it affect farmer's market?
Like for someone to use the shelter while farmer's market's happening?
No,
Or-
would we charge farmer's
So-
market because they put bands in it? So technically we would have to charge farmer's market
We would, yes. So
every Saturday for the nonprofit shelter.
how we run that in the past, though, is if they provide all of their dates up front, then it's one application and it's one fee per application. And that's how the nonprofit has worked. So it'd be 25 for the season if they can put it all on one.
Do you need to change it then? Cause it says up to 20 hours, cause I had that same question, because if it's for 20 hours, that's for.
Yes, my
farmers markets,
apologies.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the 20 hours, yeah. So if they have,
So
say,
they-
like
okay, yeah.
250 hours, we break that down into the 20-hour chunks and they would get charged $25 per 20-hour chunk.
And the same would be true with, if the entrepreneur club at, Rocky Hill wanted to reserve the shelter for their event that they have every Thursday, that they would fall under that 20-hour.
So you would not run it as a per application fee. You would break down. how
Yeah,
many
that was
hours.
my error. I apologize. It is per 20 hours of usage.
Do we give priority to residents first if somebody was looking to know? Is anybody first come, first served?
We haven't really addressed that because there are some parks that we have that we cannot set up like a fee schedule like that where residents versus non-residents have different fees that they're charged. So that's something we have just not addressed yet.
And Jen, I know you mentioned before about city-sponsored events, how are they different?
City-sponsored events don't, oh, Bob is entering the meeting. Bob Steinmiller. City-sponsored events are, what's the word?
Exempt.
Thank you. Exempt, yes.
And some examples of those are,
Winter Glow and Barefoot and 4th of July. movie nights, yard sales.
Farmers market.
So with the
Farmers
farmer,
market.
could you put the farmer's market or in the entrepreneur club or things like that that are kind of partnered with the city? Would
The
you? I guess
entrepreneur
that one's
club
separate,
isn't,
but the farmer's market.
farmers market is, and part of that is because it's been an event that's been here for so long. I think that we need to start clarifying what consists of a city-sponsored event, we've got all these events that we've done for years and repeated over and over, and we've called them city-sponsored events. There's nothing in writing that spells out how can you become one if you aren't like the entrepreneur club. So it might be worth further discussion in this process to identify that and make a recommendation to council that in some fashion, we need to understand how to identify a city sponsor. Obviously, if
Well, I'm
city
thinking of like
staff
how
is
to,
involved in it,
yeah, and how to identify what nonprofit, it's kind of, it's a slippery slope, right? How do you identify which nonprofits would be exempt versus unexempt and?
well, so city sponsored means that the city works directly with the event in some capacity. So we don't work directly with entrepreneurial.
Yeah, no, I know.
We work directly with farmers market every Saturday. We have people on staff to help just do that event
Yes,
Every
so you're
Saturday.
sponsoring via
via the involvement,
labor
really.
versus
Yeah,
financially sponsoring. an
right,
event.
correct.
For the nonprofits, they are required to provide their 501c3 ID. That's.
No, it was the
we
question of
allow
that
it.
any nonprofit would be exempt, which this states no.
No, city
Or is
sponsored.
it city sponsored? And then how are we defining? I think it just needs to be clearly defined.
That would
before
be
you-
really helpful for us going through this community event.
Yeah, just
process.
before you put it, if it's the 20 hours or per application and if it's a non-exempt, what constitutes that? Because otherwise I think it's, well, why does this person get it? And we don't,
So just-
and I'll use the farmer's market as an example, right? Where you may not be giving financial contribution, but you're giving labor contributions and I don't know what the Friday night market, if they would fall under that same umbrella or exactly. So I just think it needs clarification before you put something out or make a decision on it one way or the other.
I mean, do you think we'd want an application process at some point if somebody had an idea, wanted to apply for a city sponsored event?
I think we'd first have to define what level of support would come from the city. With these other events, they've been going on before we really kind of had a process for a lot of this stuff. And now that we're kind of breaking it down and looking at the process, it really is just a handful, like, barefoot yard sales that kind of fall under this umbrella. So realistically, all the other events now don't really fall under that umbrella. So we would have to define what that means on behalf of the city to be involved. And what liability that increases insurance requirements, that kind of stuff.
You got a question?
I mean, you'll have to go up to the microphone. And then just state your name for the record. No, I don't think so. Push the button. Push and hold.
Yes,
There it is.
there.
Yeah.
Good evening. I'm Joni Hay, and I just had a quick question. I was just curious about the liability for the respective events, whether they're profit or nonprofit, and who provides the liability, and its correlation to the fee structure.
So the event coordinator or the group provides certificate of insurance, naming the city as an additional insured.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that does.
Okay.
Seems very standard to me, but
And then the requirements come from our risk management
Right.
company. So we don't set the limits on the liability. The insurance risk management sets it based on whatever the event is.
that seems standard. Thank you.
And there's only one thing I don't see on here is Orchard Park's concession stands.
We don't have a rental fee for it.
Okay.
We don't have one at Pavilion either.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw the Girl Scouts there
Yeah.
on the weekends.
There's never
That
been one
correct?
because there's an MOU with the Kiwanis at Pavilion.
Okay.
That they have first rights to using it, so we don't rent it out to the general public at this point for a fee. It's challenging to have different people in there on a rotating basis when Kiwanis needs to dedicate their summer season to it. So it does make it complicated. Now, we don't have that situation at Orchard at this point.
Yeah.
With the group kind of utilizing it on a regular basis, so we just are allowing people to use it.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Is there an MOU with Kiwanis that one as well?
No.
Not just Pavilion?
Does the Orchard Park one get used?
Winter Glow, yes.
Right now, Girl Scouts are in
Yeah.
there and they're doing 3 days a week, on the weekends and doing hot chocolate and some snacks and
We also used it in Touch a Truck. We had I think STCU was in there. I can't remember who it was.
Yeah.
Just handing out water and whatnot.
Right. Sounds like there's a lot of stuff not written down.
Which is why we hope to have a recreational professional next year on staff.
So Jen, is your recommendation that we set some fees for Town Square based on our current fee schedule with other parks? And then potentially, if the budget is approved by council and we get the recreation specialist, maybe that's a
Yeah.
research project for them with some recommendations and we can kind of.
Yes, that would be my recommendation. This is something that is gonna need some research and some ongoing discoveries, and that's not something that I can do on my own at the moment. So, and I think this needs, now that our events are growing, our rentals and reservations are growing. We're growing our staff to keep up with that and the programs. I think now is time to add Town Square in there, at least match it to a similar structure that the other parks have.
Yeah, that will carry us through until the master plan is
Mhm.
designed and it's transformed into whatever it's gonna be.
What about the discussion of the alcohol use?
I don't have any updates on that. I think they're discussing that tomorrow with council. We could do a follow-up with Lisa and Amy on the January meeting, if you'd
Great.
like.
Yeah, because I was at the last council meeting I was at when I gave our report, that was the subject of discussion and I know that they were gonna have further discussion to get council's input, so that'd be great to have them come back in January. then.
Okay. So, moving forward with this process, the structure that council has before them at this moment is this fee structure that you already approved
Mhm.
a month or two ago. So it's in the budget. It does not reflect anything with Town Square. If council passes the budget tomorrow night, this is what they will be passing and approving. So what would have to happen is we would take, let's just say you all wanted to have Town Square added in at these fees. We would have to take it, it's a budget amendment at that point because this document is part of the budget in its entirety. So I would take it to a future council meeting, and obviously this is something we would want to update the city council on through the process. But they have to approve it as an amendment to the budget.
So if we want to have a recommendation on this going forward, maybe David, that's something you can update the council on, that there'll be an amendment coming down on the fee structure. Are you suggesting that we go with Pavilion Park fees or? Because I noticed the Rocky Hill
yeah.
and Orchard are a little
I-
bit
it-
less on the regular.
Yeah, that shelter is similar sizing to the Rocky Hill shelter and the two Orchard shelters, the smaller ones, so it would make sense to match those. But it's your decision, what you would recommend to council to approve.
Does the commission feel like we want to put a motion in tonight, or do we want to discuss it more later? So that we don't have to have a supplemental budget.
Well, I don't think I can change it in
Okay.
tomorrow's, so you've got time,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, you could vote on it in January, and
Yeah, I mean, maybe at this point.
Lisa gives you time to, because I just introduced this
Mhm.
Yeah.
heavily tonight, so it gives you time to.
I mean, maybe
Think on
you
it.
can, just as a draft for our next meeting, add Town Square
Mm-hmm.
in there with the suggested fees, and then that would give us
Yeah,
something
that
that
would
we
be
can
something
do
to
a
approve.
vote on.
Sure, yeah, you could do that.
And then maybe David at the, you can just tell him this coming down the pike because there's been an admission that Town Square wasn't in the fee schedule, and given the increased usage, we thought it was appropriate until the master plan is completed and executed. Any more discussion on that item? Okay, moving on to our staff report, Jen.
So I don't have a whole lot. It's kind of that time of year, which is a little bit of a breather. But the Hoop Town, I sent you all pictures of the Hoop Town backboards and rims. They went in. The shade structure is up and will come back down for winter. The shade portion of it, it will not stay up during the winter time. It's too hard on the fabric.
Are they gonna even out the ground there?
They should. They're not wrapped up quite yet. Yeah, so. And then, we've been chasing snow. So that's kind of our focus as staff is focusing on snow and weather. And then I think if you all check your city emails, there will be an email in there, from Sophos that is a required training. Yes, another training. I'm sorry.
Mine, I thought it was spam. The only time I.
Well, I thought it was spam too. So to be.
The last time I answered a couple of them was like, this was a test and you.
I
failed.
I
So
was
just
hoping it was
deleted
spam. It is not. So do
Can
they?
somebody resend that to me, please? Thank you.
So once they take the training, is there some way that it lets you know? Lets IT know that they took it?
Yes.
They don't need to email you or anything?
No,
Okay,
once you complete the training.
It'll check.
actually- you Put a check mark in Thomas's little box.
Okay, perfect.
Security department.
Perfect. All right. That's all.
You fail the phishing.
Oh, yeah.
Jen, I have a question on the backboards and maybe I couldn't see it. Are there supposed to be Hooptown logos? on the
I was
backboards?
wondering the same thing, so let me follow up. I thought
Okay.
there were going to
I
be.
thought, I've seen the Hoop Fest logos on the
Yeah.
Hooptown backboard, so I don't know,
I thought there were going.
you know,
to
the
be.
white logo that's in the corner. So I think there's nothing on those if I could tell.
They're
from the pictures.
plain.
Okay.
I noticed that too, David. I suspect it's because it's decals and the temperature.
And the
on them.
temps,
Yeah.
I understood they would have them
Okay.
on there, so.
Speaking of which, if I could interrupt you before I forget, permit. Laura, you had a conversation with the artist and on the mural, the basketball mural, and they're going to clean up the edges.
And I apologize, I wasn't at the last meeting, but my understanding is that the commission approved for her to
Yeah.
extend, so that would likely be it's fine with the temperatures, you're in spring, so.
So
We can
in
keep
that
it
case,
overnight.
we would probably pull that out of the beautification fund since the artist, Hooptown doesn't carry over automatically.
Right.
So just
And you
be
said we
aware.
do not need to draft a separate agreement with her for that.
1,200 falls below the procurement requirements.
Okay.
So, yeah.
My thought is because I'm imagining that there will be Hoop Fest, probably the decals things going up there, I'm guessing, and certainly we can check. And then with the cleanup of the edges of the mural, then after that in the spring is when I think we should do a big dedication and we can have the Hoop Fest people out and maybe some youth basketball team doing a little demo or make something fun out of it when the weather's a little nicer, if everyone thinks that would work.
It might be nice to do a whole dedication of that
Oh, yeah.
area with the skate park
Could have
being finished
skateboarders.
and do a little
Mhm.
event to do a. just
Have
That,
the
that corner
artists
of
there
the,
to talk about
It
their
won't
work.
be hard to get some skateboarders.
no, the corner of that.
I
park.
think that's a great idea.
And I know when I talked to the artist as he was wrapping up on the skate park, he was setting up just for his own promotional stuff, taking some photos and he had, the skaters were there constantly while he was working. So he formed a lot of connections with, some of our local skaters. So
Yeah, that'd be great.
who are hard lobbying for a skate park expansion. Which I'm sure.
We need to talk about January meeting.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I was gonna make one comment on the Hooptown event. There should be some students here in Liberty Lake that are participating in Hooptown basketball.
Mhm.
So we could get those students to do a little demo that are here in Liberty Lake.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, it'd be it's such a fun project and it's so youth focused that it would really be nice to get youth involved in the dedication of both. And, you know, we could make a kind of a little hoopla out of it if, you know, we're doing both at the same time. So I love that idea.
Do you want me to check with the Hooptown people on like who's involved out here?
Well,
In the league, or-
I would wait because that's all probably gonna change by the time we get to the dedication. I can probably,
I mean, they're actively happening right now.
Yeah.
Hooptown, yeah.
but they'll probably all go up a grade level before, those are usually, the basketball
The season
programs are
will be
usually
over.
winter.
Yeah, the season will be over by the dedication.
And I know that Riley Stockton, you know, I've talked to him about this project a lot and I'm sure they'll help us identify.
Yeah.
Um, some stuff, but yeah, it'd be fun. Maybe we could even get a Gonzaga guy or something in the off season by then.
Do you want anybody doing bike tricks?
Bike tricks well, there's the skate park, there's the bikes are out there. Do you have some bike tricks?
Well, not in person, but I could find out, I could get some.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm guessing this will be in the spring because we need it warm enough for the mural painting to be finished up.
Yeah.
And then whatever decaling but yeah, once it gets closer to time, then I think, you know, we can dig in and see how we might, you know, set the stage for a really fun dedication.
Okay.
That'd be great. We have our, keep going, Jen. Did you have
No,
more?
that's all I have. That's
We,
all I have.
we have our next meeting is January 1. I don't know how many of you folks want to come down here that day, or would there, somebody want to reschedule it to the next Monday, January 8th? Does that look okay at the same time? We'll just move it a week. If so,
Sounds good.
we'll need a motion, I think.
I move that we change our January 1st meeting to January 8th, 4 p.m. 2020.
I second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded by Noel. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so the motion is approved. So our next meeting will be January 8th. David, you're handling council on the 19th. If you have any agenda items between now and then, be sure and let Jen know and we can get them on the agenda, but it looks like we'll keep discussing the walls for art at Trailhead, be thinking about benches. I just was thinking that we are getting a new library. Maybe they need a bench. Okay, anything else for the greater good? Joni, we're gonna look forward to you being a member by next time, and we're adjourned.